Thank you for tuning in. This video provides 10 testimonies supporting SB 954. All testimonies as of April 12th are in favor of moving this bill forward in the Connecticut State Legislature. Please consider these testimonies, support the passage of this bill, and encourage your fellow legislators to do the same. Passing this bill will save lives and prevent other families from living with the tragic loss mine lives with every single day. I'm Nanette Hausman and the founder of College911.net, a safety initiative launched in honor of my youngest son, Corey, who was the happiest person on earth when we dropped him off to start his freshman year of college. As you will hear in my testimony, Corey passed away just 15 days after we dropped him off from what began as a preventable accident. We were stunned to learn that his was the third student death since the start of that semester. The third student death in just 15 days. The college initiated process in place to remove Corey's belongings from his dorm and withdraw him from his classes, and his college's headcount seemed all too routine. Instinctively, I started peeling back the onion to find out how a tragedy like ours could happen and just how often they did happen. The discoveries we made about college student mortality and the reporting system used to measure college safety are the backbone of SB 954. This bill has bipartisan sponsorship from the Higher Education Committee and Senators Slapp, Haskell, and Wong. If passed, critical evidence-based information will fill a substantial void in our college safety reporting system. It will increase transparency and help us pinpoint and prioritize the investment in all aspects of safety, especially accident prevention, which is the leading cause of college student death. The testimonies which follow show the deep personal and lasting impact which occurs when a college student suddenly dies or lives with a life-altering consequence after experiencing a serious accident. Several families like ours have launched college safety initiatives. One testimony proves the lack of evidence-based information around college student accidents and deaths. Another testimony provides an example of where a major university identified a physical safety issue that contributed to a student's death, were committed to addressing the safety issue, but were not successful because the needed funding was not a priority. There's also a testimony from Connecticut's largest university which shows leadership by supporting this bill as a means of informed decision-making and prioritizing their investment in safety. Several testimonies share what students and their guardians rely on in terms of safety and emergency medical services and the type of information they need to make informed decisions and preparation. And finally, a witness presents the value of transparency offered to multiple stakeholder groups if this bill passes. Thank you for listening, and please vote yes on SB 954.
All right, welcome everybody to our second higher ed public hearing. Today's March 2nd, 2021. As a reminder, everyone will get 3 minutes and then we'll go on to questions and answers. So our first person today is Representative, or actually, do we do comments? My rankings and co-chair, do you want to say anything before we start? You good?
We do typically do it, but we've got a long hearing today, so I've got no comments other than I'm looking forward to hearing what folks have to say.
Great. Representative Haynes?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Next up, we have Senator Wong, and then after that, we'll have Representative Winkler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Chair Elliott, Chair Haskell, Ranking Members Haynes and Whitcoes, and esteemed members of the Higher Ed and Employment Committee. But I am here to defer and cede my time to Nanette and Joel Hausman, who will share their personal story on Senate Bill 954, an act requiring the reporting of accidental deaths on college campuses. So at the indulgence of the chairs and the committee, I defer to Joel and Nanette Hausman.
Please.
Thank you, Tony, very much. Thank you for co-sponsoring this bill with Senator Haskell. The two of you have been phenomenal since the first day that you heard our story, giving us compassion and energizing us to make change. We're not lobbyists, we're not activists, we're not necessarily even politically savvy. I just turned 63 years old and I now understand what a constituent is. I've never been a constituent before. But we are two devastated parents, and we are here to try to make some change to help everyone.
Good morning, all. Our story. 2.5 years ago, our family of 5 traveled to drop our youngest son, Corey, off to college for what was supposed to be, as some people say, the best 4 years of one's life. The drop off went well. He took to it like a fish to water, probably couldn't wait for his parents to leave, and we did. After we left, I immediately was so looking forward to going back for Parents Weekend. Made our reservation, wanted to hear the stories of this new exciting chapter. Unfortunately, Parents Weekend never came for us. We did go back to school, however, 15 days after that drop-off to pick up an urn filled with his ashes. You see, Corey passed away as a result of a preventable accident. Little did we know that accidents are the leading cause of student deaths at college. This was the 3rd week of the first semester. When we got there, we were told Corey's death was actually the 3rd death of the semester. Think about that for a second. 3 weeks into a semester, 3 young adults died, 3 devastating, tragic stories, 3 devastated families. Our children are so precious.
I want you to think about us when you're listening to the testimony of 11 people that have stepped forward to testify on our behalf. They aren't just people that feel sad for us. They're people that are experts in different subject matters. I have parents, some whose children are still alive. I have parents whose sons have died while they're away at college that have started college safety advocate groups. I have some of Corey's friends that have dug in to help us understand how this could have happened and make change. I love hearing about how we're worrying about feeding children. I think that's great in every aspect of supporting children at college. But I think one of the primary things needs to do is to make sure that they are safe and they stay alive. What this bill is asking for is a new line item on a safety report card, one that's already generated by the universities to talk about other types of safety issues, including fire and crime. The spearhead to this initiative that I've started, which is college911.net, really came together when I tried to find out how many total students died on Corey's campus in the year that he would have been a freshman. I learned when I went to the Department of Higher Education from the state where he went, that his death is treated to reduce the cohort of the college's head count. So the graduation and retention statistics are not damaged because of a death, a withdrawal, or a school transfer. There's no finite number of how many kids died. I believe that the universities, there's a lot of people that would benefit from this information. I believe changes were attempted to be made to the bad area where Corey fell, but it didn't make the budget cut. So I believe that just reporting this one new number on a spreadsheet for the public, for the school, for everybody else to see, will help us drive the investment in safety that we need. The rest of my time, if possible, I'm going to share with you what we've lost. This is a video that we found on Corey's phone after he passed away. Corey grew up playing the cello in the Westport school system, and when he got to be a junior in high school, he picked up the guitar, something his dad had always wanted him to do. But he, you don't never listen to your parents, forget it. So anyway, I want to share this with you because this is who Corey was. This is him in his dorm room by himself, recording himself, playing the guitar. Again, I believe it was going to be a gift to his father.
I tried to get this uploaded through Jean, but she said that wasn't possible. So just bear with me. Here we go. Hold on. I gotta get the volume. Hold on. Why isn't the volume? Hold on. Sorry, people. I'd like to close with just saying the numbers of the speakers, the order that have come forward in our behalf, if you want to jot these down. Again, thank you, Tony and Will, for getting us this great spot in today's hearing. Number 48, number 52, number 74, number 80, number 82, 83, 88, 94, 95, 104, and 114. These are all people that have come to support moving this bill forward, and think of us and please listen to them and what they have to say.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Hausman, for sharing that story. I'm so sorry to hear about that. We'll do what we can to work with you. Senator Haskell, I see your hand up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And Nanette, and of course, Joel, it's wonderful to see you both. Thank you for your advocacy on this critically important issue. It's been truly an honor to work with you, and also, of course, Senator Wong on the college 911 proposal. And of course, in the wake of Corey's passing, you channeled your grief into activism, specifically around creating College 911, which makes sure families and students have access to the information that they need to stay healthy and safe during their college time. Now, I've taken a look at the College 911 website, and of course, there are many layers to the initiative. Do you believe that legislative change is the only avenue, or is this just one piece of the reform that you're seeking to implement?
My immediate reaction after this happened is I wanted to think about how to make change. And I was a strategic planner before I was a mother. And you always look at things, what can you do right now and what do you do in the future? I look at the legislative change as something that's going to take a while, but it's something that's going to make a permanent, lasting change and help a lot of different avenues. But immediately what I put together was a medical emergency checklist, which is on the website. It's college911.net. right on the homepage, which is really a list of things that we didn't think about going away to college that we think would make a difference to someone else. There's information on how to set up your iPhone so that if somebody calls 911 from your phone, your emergency contacts get notified. I've been trying to work with Apple to find out why they aren't a little bit more forthright about this amazing feature on everyone's health app. Pull it up right now, look at it. So my initial reaction is, what can I do right now on my own? And I've been working with high schools and college counselors to say, go through this checklist. It's for parents or guardians and for students to try to help people right now. There's one of the things that's on there is also looking into the emergency medical care of your student when you drop them off, which is something people don't normally think at. The passing of Corey started with an accident and he fell and he was hurt, but he got taken to a local hospital that I got to say, I would not put it in the top-notch category. And we're 2,000 miles away and we're just getting phone calls because he's 18. He's an adult now in the eyes of the healthcare community. So that checklist is something that is downloadable, printable, actionable. So yes, well, I'm doing the legislative piece, but I know that's going to take some time and we're going to have to go to other states eventually. And we're going to have to go to hopefully the federal level so that it's something that it can be a comparison for parents. Just another important factor.
That's really helpful to know. And I know we have so many folks lined up to testify, so I'll keep it super brief and just ask one more question. But out of curiosity, of course, Corey's passing happened outside of Connecticut. But did you reach out to Corey's college, after the accident, and what happened in that exchange or communication with campus leadership?
Well, I got to say, I was a little disappointed. The analogy I use is that things were kind of swept under the rug. The immediate reaction of the dean of students and the commander of the police was excellent. I think they really cared. I think they really wanted to make change. That did not end up happening, and my son Lucas will talk about that. But I wrote a letter a year afterwards. I started digging into pedestrian campus safety. I worked with a doctor at Yale and forwarded a quite lengthy recommendation about even using, putting up the signs that you see in Central Park. They're the dismount signs. Like if you're not going to change it, go through your campus, make sure it's safe. Honestly, I wrote it to the chancellor and the president of the college. I did not hear back from the president of college at all. And the chancellor, and I offered to work with them. And the chancellor said, we have people that do this. Thank you. Sorry you lost your son. He didn't even say Corey's name in his email. So it happened at a university, but I think it can happen anywhere. I think it's this transition time. We're moving from, kids moving off to college. The colleges are treating them like they're adults, even though they know 18 to 24-year-olds practice risky behavior. They're away from home for the first time, new environments, new socializations. I just want to, and all we're asking for in this bill is data. We're not asking for programming or anything. We just want a number so that public health people, ourselves, parents, children, the university can look at it, capture it, and say, okay, this is going on. What can we do about it? And then they might be able to get the funding to really address these issues. So those are perfect questions.
Well, thank you so much, Nanette. Thank you, Joel, for your strength, for your courage, for your advocacy. Thank you, Senator Wong, for ceding your time to these wonderful constituents of ours. And I look forward to keeping in touch. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next, we have Representative Case, followed by Representative Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to thank you too for coming forward. It really hits hard when you hear situations like this, and this is why we have public hearings to actually hear a story and go along with the testimony. I guess my question is, on a personal level myself, I have had a brother who I've lost in the past 3 years, and it didn't have to happen. And my 78-year-old mother is reliving it with investigations right now. And so my question is, and I hear you want data, and I think that's great to do data because I didn't understand this bill 100%, because if once we have the data, I think the schools will be able to understand a better way of putting a package together in their admissions or their orientation documents, so that students, when you're going off to college, it's kind of exciting. But they need to realize that, my father dropped me off. He says, you're going for academics, but you're also going for socialization. So you're going to learn a lot about yourself. So I think the students that go away, we can take this data and just show them that, you're coming out and you're becoming an adult, and we need to aware you of things that can happen. And I think getting the data, I understand it much better now in the bill. I wasn't sure where it was going because we can't do much for colleges and universities outside of the state. But I think grabbing information is something that we can do. But I just really wanted to thank you guys for coming forward. It takes a lot to do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people, I hate to say this, but they crawl under a rock. And it's hard, but I think it's been my way of dealing and coping. And I think it will benefit everyone. And this is a good first step. We did a regulatory reform petition. There's other aspects I think that are important also, but this is just huge. If we can get this bill moved forward and looked at, it's an important spark. So thank you very much.
And our
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Our condolences to you for your brother. And it just shows it can happen to anybody.
It can happen to anyone. They're saying we got 3 to 4 more years of investigations, and it's not fair to a 78-year-old mother to have to go through this. It's not fair for anybody to have to go through this.
Representative Case, if I may, I think it's important to note that the courage in which the Housemans have raised this issue is very important. It's not just the bill in itself, but I think it's an important point of raising awareness for us as parents and for young adults that are heading off into college to understand the risk and the challenge that goes with that, rites of passage. So, and what really struck me with the Hausmans is the fact that I still remember vividly the day that we dropped off our children off at college, and it is intended to be some of the most exciting time of their lives, as Joel just talked about earlier. And you have a bond of trust with the university that they have the responsibility and will take the care to treat your child as their own. And that bond of trust needs to be validated and reaffirmed. And to have these kind of tragedies occur because there wasn't a level of communications, I think two things comes from this: the data that will allow universities to better educate, but I think the other is to empower parents to know that they have a voice, that they need to be involved and have the universities in their role as caretakers of their children to be accountable and to be responsive. So I wanted to add that, because what struck me the most about this whole issue was the fact that anybody who's a parent who sends their kids off to camp or school or higher education, there is that emotion of excitement for them, but there's also an uncertainty. And when those uncertainties are realized in a horrible tragedy, and you feel as though you were not given a chance to do your best on your child's behalf, I think that is a pain that no one should ever have to endure. And I appreciate you asking the question. Again, my condolences on your brother as well. You've been an incredible caretaker and of his unique, special intellectual needs, and you've been a champion on that. So thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Representative, and thank you, Senator. Next, we have Representative Haynes.
Good morning, and to you, the Hausmans, thank you so much for being here. This obviously is a very important bill that we need to get through. I am a mom of two very independent young ladies who went off to school. I have one who actually was a merchant marine, and to put her on a ship and have her go God knows where was an unbelievable parental situation there. And as well as my daughter, who's still at Gettysburg, and every year when she takes off and goes to school, I have that pain. So I totally understand why this is just that important. In regards to your organization, I was just wondering, what experts do you have in your coffers there as far as helping you along? Who's involved in your organization?
Mostly volunteers, other parents. I call some of us the transparency team. Some of them will be speaking today that have started different actual safety initiatives. One's called Protect Students Abroad, which is an organization that's been around for quite a few years, trying to get these same kind of information for our students that go abroad. The starters of that organization, both of them have lost children due to accidents when they were abroad. I have the leader of Rail Against the Danger, another woman that whose son fell from a lofted bed, and his life has changed forever, and their life has changed forever. He survived. They happened to live close enough where they could manage the medical care. I don't want to say what she's going to talk about. So it's other parent advocate groups. I have some writers that are helping me. I have people that help me with lobbying and understanding the political process, which, as I said in my beginning, I had no idea the levels and layers, and the House and the Senate and the state and the federal, all that stuff. So I have a lot of warm hearts, a lot of really smart people. I have a someone that completely has helped me build my website that I've known for years. His name's Ira. He's talking about transparency and how there's value in transparency, whether or not we do anything with it or not, the importance of information. I have been overwhelmed with the number of people that have helped me proactively come forward, give me things to do, roll up their sleeves. I feel like I'm on the Academy Awards and I'm forgetting to thank someone, which I'm not. But it's not a fundraiser. It's not right now. It's not a non-for-profit, because my understanding is if you're trying to move forward on regulation, you cannot file for a nonprofit. I looked into the paperwork. So we're kind of We are a grassroots organization, great volunteers. Check out the website, college911.net. If anybody wants to help out, write to me. So this is just evolving. I thought we were talking about dropping Corey off. We got the call from Corey, this is my husband and my first week of that. Everybody says, oh, your next chapter. I mean, I wasn't happy when all my kids got out of the house. I'm one of those moms, little scary, right? This was our first empty nest week or two. And we were honestly going to probably move to be closer to our children. But it just rocks the family. It's not losing a child. It has devastated each and every member of my family. We have different ways of coping. I'm a doer. I'm a fixer. That's why I'm peeling back the onion and trying to fix. Everybody's different. So if anybody wants to help, call me. But I'm overwhelmed with the just generosity and support of, and it's just happening organically. So right now it's me and a very small team of wonderful people.
The strength that you are doing this with is absolutely incredible. I don't know if I could do this. So more power to you both. With all the love in my heart as a parent, I know where you're at. When you said that you have started to talk to higher education institutions. What other reactions are you getting? What are they saying?
I think the tendency is for them to be a little bit defensive. One of the people on my team actually works for a large university out in California. Mm-hmm. And, she keeps reminding us and me that no matter what we do, it's going to cost money. And that's a very good reminder because I don't know the higher education institution. That's why I think starting out small and just collecting data is the smartest way to go, and it might be easiest. I really am, and I've talked to a few people, a few higher ed, one university in particular that's in South Carolina. It's not a large public university, but she's worked at different institutions, and she's a believer in the cause. That's why I say I think this is good for the universities because she's a very compassionate, loving person, and when she took over her job, she wasn't happy with the healthcare services being provided to her students. So they did an RFP. They ended up getting connected with a huge healthcare organization. And she said, I never imagined that our campus could get this kind of support. So I think there's a lot of people. The dean of students that was at Corey's college was very nice, very compassionate. She didn't have a lot of power. She didn't last in her job even a year. And a local newspaper said that she resigned. And one of the things she said was that she had no idea the position was going to be talking to as many mourning parents. I've stayed connected with her since then. I went to her and I said, am I just a sad mom trying to busy up my time? Is this an issue? And she and the commander at the police station that's also left said, this is the tip of the iceberg. They said, you go, girl. The commander of the police said, I have to write a report every time a prankster pulls a fire alarm because it's fire. We have certain safety things that we record and take track of. It's called Clery Act. And so they have to record fire and crime related instances all over already. So this is good because we already know they're capable of doing it. We're just trying to get one more thing that they keep track of right now. So that was a very long answer to a very simple question.
That's okay. Thank you so much. The more we hear, the more we realize how important this issue is. And it's in your tragedy has this come out to save others. So thank you so much. And thank you, Chair.
And look at the emergency medical checklist on the website for your daughter in Gettysburg.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Haynes, and thank you again, Joel and Annette, for your story. And again, I'll be paying attention to this, and this was not in my radar before this year, but it certainly is now. And thank you for advocacy, and sorry for the loss of your son, Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about my support for reforms to SB 954, which will add accidental death reporting requirements for Connecticut state colleges and universities. My name is Elizabeth Brenner, and I am the co-founder of Protect Students Abroad. In 2011, my son Thomas died an accidental death due to a fall during an academic study abroad program. Afterwards, a contact at the Department of State let me know that Thomas's program had had 11 previous deaths. We could not have accessed this information beforehand because there is no reporting requirement. Gradually, I also learned about other study abroad student deaths on different programs in other countries, including Ravi Thakardeen, son of Ross Thakardeen, whom I now work with as Protect Students Abroad. My professional background is as a nurse practitioner. In my field, evidence-based information drives patient care and program improvements, data collection, data analysis, peer-reviewed literature, robust discussions between professionals, and informed consent for patients are the standard for improving patient outcomes. But this was not what was happening and still is not happening for our college and university students. In fact, Roz and I were astonished to discover that no one within higher ed could tell us how many students have died during study abroad, much less information about causes of death. To fill in what we viewed as a significant information gap, we founded Protect Students Abroad, also known as PSA. Using the internet and word of mouth, PSA collects and organizes information about study abroad student deaths and survivors with lifelong injuries. Currently, we have over 400 deceased students in our data set. Preventable accidents, known in public health literature as unintentional injuries, represent the leading cause of death. Specific subcategories include falls, drowning, and motor vehicle crashes, with untimely and inadequate medical care as a contributing factor. While academic research on study abroad student death is scant, information about stateside student death is hardly better. In 2013, James Turner published an article called Causes of Mortality Among American College Students. This was a small pilot study in the Journal of College Student Psychotherapy. For this study, Turner sent questionnaires to schools asking them about campus-based student deaths. He found that accidental injuries represent leading causes of death. However, out of 1,154 surveys mailed, only 166 were returned, even though anonymity was guaranteed. This concerns us and leads us to conclude that voluntary data collection will never be a substitute for required reporting. In a more proactive world, what might the utility of better data look like for students and families? Here's an example. Australian experiential education researcher Andrew Brooks found fatal falls to be associated with gender, age, and lack of supervision. Specifically, young males unsupervised near a steep incline, especially when the landscape is unfamiliar, are at greater risks for death due to falling. In meeting Nanette and Joel Hausman and learning about Corey's death, evidence-based information would have been useful. Corey was young, male, unsupervised, near a steep incline where the landscape was unfamiliar. He died from a preventable fall with medical care as a contributing factor. All of this was true for my son as well. And yet, since Corey's death, since Thomas's death, what evidence-based information has been voluntarily gathered and examined by institutions of higher education? What evidence-based policy decisions have been made? None. All fatality prevention strategies are based on knowledge of previous incidents. Let me say this one more time. All fatality prevention strategies are based on knowledge of previous incidents. Bereaved parents instinctively understand this. We do not want our child's death to be in vain. What happened to our sons and daughters must become a teachable moment in order to protect the future of all of our children. Young learners deserve better information, as do their families and educational institutions. SB 954 is a solid first step towards evidence-based death and injury prevention. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Mary Ellen Jacobs. I apologize, ma'am. I understand there was a technical difficulty earlier in the hearing. We're glad that you're with us, and please feel free to go right ahead.
Thank you. No worries. My name is Mary Ellen Jacobs, and I'm here to support State Bill 954. First, I want to thank Nanette, Joel, and Lucas Hausman for their courage in stepping forward and offering their testimony here today. The Connecticut Higher Education Committee is taking such a vital step today to improve campus safety by considering these reforms called for in SB 954. Public transparency in reporting accidental college deaths is an important first step toward looking at how college safety needs to be expanded to save lives. My contribution to support this bill and expand college safety comes from a deeply personal, tragic experience in my own family. 6 years ago, I started a nonprofit organization called Rail Against the Danger after my son Clark fell sound asleep from a lofted bed 7 feet off the floor at college and suffered a traumatic brain injury and a stroke. He was 20 years old and nearly lost his life to a very preventable accident. Excuse me. Had he not been in college at a major metropolitan area near Trauma One medical care, I don't believe he would have survived. Had Clark not survived, under current public safety reporting systems, a tragic event like this would have not been tallied or accounted for. When we contacted the university right after this traumatic accident, the initial reaction from the dean of students at our university was to protect the university, because at the time, safety rails were available, although my son was not offered that option of having a rail in his residence. In the ensuing 10 weeks, as my son lay in a vegetative state in a neuro rehab unit, I began my own investigation looking for data on falls on other campuses. After doing multiple exhaustive searches on the internet about safety standards, it became clear that student accidents and deaths are not reported to any sort of state or national database that can be accessed. The only reliable data I was able to procure was a study of ER visits due to bed falls, as the injuries were severe enough to require a trip to the emergency room. But how could that be when virtually everyone I spoke with knew someone either directly or indirectly who had experienced a fall from a bunk or loft bed in the college setting? I met with the state university in my home state of Georgia in the months that followed, and was surprised to learn that there was no consistent system-wide reporting of accidents or deaths on campus. Crime data, fire, suicide, sexual assaults are all required to be reported due to the Clery Act, which became law in 1990. While my son's accident occurred in Georgia, I have worked extensively with many other states and have evidence that these kind of accidents, sometimes fatal, can and do happen all over the nation. I have come to the conclusion there is currently no way to find data about campus accidents and some deaths, as it does not fall within the confines of Clery. While researching this college age group, 18 to 25, which is known to exhibit risky behavior, I met a doctor of neuroscience who published research about the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is not fully developed until around the age of 25. When our kids turn 18 and go off to college, there's an assumption that they somehow evolve into adults overnight. And as far as decision-making and risk-taking is concerned, that simply is not the case. In other words, accidents are expected in this age group. We just need to harness that data that is already there to be able to take a hard look at campus safety and where we can improve. Even after 6 years of safety advocacy, it seems that everywhere I turn, I face an uphill battle because preventable, sometimes even fatal accidents, like my son's, are not reported and certainly not accounted for in any type of university safety reporting. Very simply, if we want to make our campuses safer, we need transparency in gathering and reporting data as the precursor to prevention. Thank you all for your time today. I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you, Ms. Jacobs, for your testimony, and I'm so sorry for what your son has endured and your family has endured. I'm grateful that you channeled it into advocacy. One just brief clarifying question. Given that the legislation before us currently requires universities to report on accidental deaths, if I understand your testimony, you are suggesting that it be expanded to perhaps include serious injury or some other data point?
Absolutely. I mean, I just feel that right now, I know, like I said, I know intrinsically from the people that have responded to my webpage and to emails and places I've met people when I was doing speaking engagement, et cetera. It's a very common, accidents are so common on campus, but when you go look for those statistics, you cannot find them unless it was severe enough, like I said, to cause a death or to cause, if someone was, in the media or something like that, it's just difficult to find those numbers.
Understood. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Jacobs. I don't have any further questions, and I don't see any hands from committee members. So we appreciate you speaking with us this evening.
Okay, thank you so much.
Next, we'll hear from Linda Bruce. Good evening, Ms. Bruce.
Good evening. Hello. So, Linda Lewis Bruce. I am a 31-year resident of Westport, and I'm wearing two hats as I support SB 954. My first hat is that of a mother of an 18-year-old son, Cameron Bruce, who fell to his death from a dorm window his first day of classes at university. My second hat is that of a hospital chaplain. And at the time of our tragedy, it was the school chaplain who provided necessary resources to guide my husband, students, faculty, and me through the initial trauma. Now, in my own work as a chaplain, I provide counsel, witnessing the pain and suffering of others, and providing support so that those in need feel that they are not alone. When our son died, we learned of 3 others who had died at that university that calendar year. Having this information was a comfort, albeit a very, very sad one, yet a comfort nonetheless, as we knew we were not alone. There are other members, and there continue to be, sadly, other members of this tragic Dead Kids Club. That's what I kind of call it. And returning to my capacity as a chaplain at my hospital, we have a motto, safety starts with me. So I'm kind of offering an analogy. I have extensive online monthly mandatory continuing education. I'm well trained to spot and report safety issues. And the hospital is mandated to report deaths. Now, deaths happen in hospitals where people are supposed to get well. Medications have long lists of adverse side effects. In order for procedures to be performed, long forms are filled out acknowledging there may be complications. With all this reported information, people can and still choose to go to hospitals, to take medication, and to have procedures. Now, by requiring accidental death reporting, SB 954 will help consumers, families, parents, students have more information and data in making their choice for higher education. Deaths can and sadly do happen at university where people are supposed to learn, grow, and thrive. And safety information is as critical in education as it is in medicine. It is another data point. My children had a variety of criteria ranging from quirky to practical for choosing one college over another. Accidental death reporting is a necessary data point, not an odd or quirky criterion. And Connecticut has the opportunity to be the leader in providing families with improved information about this important college decision. I support SB 954 as a measure which will help students and parents make better informed choices. And I hope that you will vote favorably. Thank you very much.
And Bruce, thank you so much for your testimony and for channeling your grief into advocacy. It cannot be easy to come before this committee and share what you and your family have experienced, but we're truly so grateful. And many of us are very committed to getting this bill across the finish line. So thank you so much for being patient and sticking with us during this very long day. And I don't see any members of the committee raising their hands. By the way, your son Cameron, if I remember correctly, was a member of the Staples Players at Staples High School. I was a few years after him, but was also a member. And of course, he left a very large legacy on that community. So anyways, thank you so much for your testimony, Ms. Bruce.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I am happy. Happy is the word. I don't know. I am honored to. I know the Hausmans are very good friends. My kids were babies together, and we want to do something for others, for our legacy, actually. And then this is a happy to stand up with her as we continue to, like I said, provide safety, whatever we need to do to inform parents.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It gives me great pleasure to testify in support of case SB 954. It is such an important step that the Connecticut Higher Education Committee is taking today to improve college safety by considering the reforms called for in SB 954. Publicly reporting accidental college deaths is important because college safety needs to be examined in order to more fully educate the public and save families and college students' lives. My son is an example of the importance of understanding safety at the college level. My son, Jonathan Austin Landis Jr., fell 35 feet from a balcony on March 9th, 2019. Johnny was a freshman at the University of Colorado Boulder. During high school, Johnny was a 4-year varsity lacrosse player and a 3.5 student. Johnny went to college with 6 college credits. He was socializing like we all hope for children to do to some degree at college when he fell 35 feet from a balcony onto concrete. Fortunately, I was in Boulder that fateful evening with my daughter, who was a senior. She got a call from a friend that Johnny had fallen, and we rushed to the Boulder Community Hospital. When we got to Boulder, Johnny was laying on a gurney, intubated with no real medical staff around him. He was bleeding from the skull and had cerebral spinal fluid seeping from his ear. The doctor on call told us that Johnny was probably already brain dead. I begged them to fight for life Johnny to get some more care. My husband, John, raced to the hospital in the suburb of Denver. The doctor finally acquiesced, and Johnny began his journey back to life. Upon arrival at Denver Health, a level 1 trauma center, Johnny received amazing care under the staff at Denver Health. Nurses, trauma surgeons, emergency room doctors, respiratory therapists, and the great neurosurgeon, Kathy Beecham, saved our son's life. Johnny spent the next 4 weeks in a coma. He went to several rehabilitation hospitals where Johnny learned to swallow, hold up his head, eventually to walk and talk. Today, Johnny is in 2 college classes. He does CrossFit, hangs out with his buddies, and has found a new passion for cooking. Johnny will go back and live in Boulder in August of 2021. This story could happen at any college campus. As parents, we save starting in utero. We prepare John and I, my husband and I, prepared all 3 of our children to be good citizens who have jobs, play sports, and were involved in our church. We researched colleges, read about dorms and job placement. Yet there is no reporting of accidental deaths nor life-altering accidents. As parents of a child with a brain injury, our choice of schools may have been different if we would have known about the ratios of accidents in different schools, or at a minimum, we would have prepared differently. Please consider adding all accidental deaths and serious, potentially life-changing accidents to public college safety reporting. All aspects of college safety should be a top priority in terms of information sharing and investment.
Next, we'll move to Lucas Hausman. Good evening, Lucas.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. My name is Lucas Hausman of Westport, Connecticut. I grew up in the Westport school system and have lived here most of my life. I think it's such an important step that our higher education committee is taking today to improve campus safety by considering the reforms called for in SB 954. Publicly reporting accidental college student deaths is important because college safety needs to be expanded in order to save student lives. My contribution to support this bill is to share one aspect of my family's tragic story, which I believe to be blaringly relevant. I lost my little brother, Corey, 2.5 years ago due to what we've come to learn was a preventable pedestrian accident that happened while he was at college, beginning his freshman year. And I know you probably heard from my parents already earlier. But while this accident occurred in Colorado, what we've learned, I believe, can and possibly does easily happen at other colleges. I was a recent college grad myself, and I'm going to read a letter sent to us from the commander of Corey's College Police Department, dated September 17th, 2018, 6 days after Corey's accident. At the time, the commander could not have been more committed to improving the pathway. His letter was in response to my mom's offer to help pay to make the area safer to prevent the possibility of another accident. The subject line of the email we received was "moving forward." Quote, "Today I met with staff from facilities management. In reviewing the accident and discussing the problems with the sidewalk, I wanted to let you know what we are looking at moving forwards. First, everyone sees the problem with the congestion of pedestrians, bicycles, and skateboards on this sidewalk. With additional student housing being built on Frontage Road on the east side of 28th, the problems have only increased. The first step will be some additional signage. I agree that this will only impact a small percentage of students, but there is a need to do this. Our efforts on the physical aspect of the sidewalk will be twofold. First is to examine the possibility of expanding the sidewalk. Next is to look at slope. By adding some level spots and making the sidewalk ADA compliant for slope, this might help decrease speed. We will be looking at other options to improve the traffic flow on the sidewalk as well. Everyone I've spoken to is aware of the risk, and I feel are committed to improving the safety for our students and staff. I'll advise you of any changes we implement. If you have any questions, please let me know." End quote. So after receiving this letter, and I remember like it was yesterday reading it, we felt a little bit of comfort in believing that Corey's fatal accident was at least being taken seriously by his college, and that physical improvements were identified and provided to us in writing and would hopefully likely occur. Well, they haven't. We followed up with the dean of students a full year later, knowing that things don't happen overnight, especially at a large public college. What we learned was that the recommended structural changes to improve safety were considered, but just did not make the budget cut. The estimated cost of $100,000 was just too much for the large state university to bear. And there had been zero correspondence from the university on this or any other matter to make our family aware of this decision. For comparison, had Corey been able to attend his college for 4 years as planned, my parents would have used almost $250,000 of their life savings to pay for his out-of-state tuition, room, and board. And it just totally feels like Corey's accident and death were swept under the rug. I think even hearing that, it's clear to me. And I believe passing this bill to require accidental deaths to be tracked and publicly reported by colleges will positively impact investment in college campus security because it'll hold them accountable. And we don't know.
Excuse me, Lucas?
Yes.
Excuse me, you've passed the 3 minutes. Could you summarize, please? Thank you.
Pretty much done. Adding to this required reporting, serious accidents like those requiring a 911 call would further prioritize the investment in safety. We believe this commander wanted to do the right thing, but the right thing was just too expensive. Let's make sure our colleges in Connecticut have what they need to make and keep our colleges as safe as they can be and should be. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Lucas, for your incredibly moving testimony. And I am so tremendously sorry for the loss that your family's experienced. You and your parents have demonstrated such courage in coming forward to testify today, and we as a committee greatly appreciate it. As a side note, I think you and I overlapped at Staples High School for a few years, so it's good to see you here.
I actually went to Hopkins, but
oh, is that right?
If I had gone, we would have overlapped.
Bummer. Well, hey, good to see you, and I see that there's a question from Representative Haynes.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair, and Lucas, thank you so much. I don't have a question at all. I just want to reiterate what Senator Haskell just said. The courage of you and the rest of your family coming here and advocating for this is just, beyond me. I wish you all just the very best, and we're going to do everything we can in our power to get this thing through and get it out of committee and make something happen for you all. And as a parent of college students, I can attest that this is a good bill, ought to pass, as we say up here. So we will work on this, Lucas. And again, thank you so much for your courage and your advocacy in light of, losing your brother. And, God bless you all.
I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for your time and effort as well.
Thank you, Representative Haynes. And it's the very least we could do, Lucas. We're happy to be here. And thanks for your testimony this evening.
Sure.
Next, we'll have Michael Valerie.
Hello all, and thank you for listening today. My name is Michael Valerie, and I'm a lifelong resident of Norwalk, Connecticut. I'm a senior neuroscience pre-medical student at Wheaton College, Massachusetts, and I am here today because I lost one of my best friends, Corey Hausman, from what started as a simple and preventable accident on his college campus. I'm a member of College 911, a college safety advocacy team, and I've come to learn that neither his accident nor death is counted on his college's publicly available safety report. I believe it is an important step that our higher education committee is taking today to improve campus safety by considering the reforms called for in SB 954. Publicly reporting accidental college student deaths will expand the focus of how safety is measured and accounted for in order to save lives. My contribution today is the results of my research, which focused on college student mortality in Connecticut. Over the past few weeks, I've done quite a bit of research to see what exactly is being reported on, specifically in regards to student deaths while attending college. Given that the Connecticut's Office of Higher Education does not track or have available statistics of our college student deaths, my team had to rely on the reported cases that can be found using the internet. This limits our findings to the immensely sensationalized cases of student deaths, i.e. Caitlin Nelson, the Sacred Heart University student who died in a pancake eating competition in 2017, or Heffany Polly, the UConn student who unfortunately lost her life after getting run over by a campus fire truck in 2016. In Connecticut alone, according to posted media, there have been 32 cases of student deaths on college campuses in the past 10 years. These findings include reporting from all public Connecticut universities, as well as Sacred Heart, Fairfield U, Yale, Wesleyan, University of Hartford, University of Bridgeport, University of New Haven, and Quinnipiac. In my attempt to account for as many CT colleges and universities, I found that Mitchell College, Connecticut College, and Albertus Magnus College have no accessible reported cases of college student deaths. However, this does not mean there weren't more deaths possibly at every college. It means that if there were, the stories aren't currently available on the internet and that they are not publicly accounted for. The conclusion of my work is that there is no evidence-based way of knowing how many students die while attending college in Connecticut, either in total or by the college. Now, my team's purpose is to not point fingers at universities, which in many categories make student safety a priority. However, under the current system, neither Corey's accident nor death is counted for on his college's report. This is wrong, and passing this bill is the first step in the right direction. The next step is having serious accidents along with student death accounted for. This reporting will provide valuable information that could be used as a foundation for accident prevention. Simply put, if we can prevent accidents, we can save lives. But we need to begin gathering data as it is the starting point of prevention. I miss my friend Corey, and I don't want a preventable accident to be the cause of another student's passing. Please move this bill forward as it is the first step to prevent accidents and saving lives.
Thank you, Michael, so much for your testimony. Looks like we have a question from Senator Haskell.
Michael, thanks so much. I just wanted to chime in and thank you for your research and say how sorry I was for the loss of your friend, Corey. To clarify for members of the committee, as a part of the federal clery requirements, campuses already have to report some instances where there's a loss of life by a student, but they don't need to report accidental deaths. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
So in doing your research, you weren't able to go into a centralized database. Were you relying on news reports, or how were you able to compile that information?
Yeah, so as I stated, we had to rely on the internet, primarily Google, and they were all cases that had been taken up by news reportings. And typically that may look like a very, like I said, sensationalized case. So whether it be a criminal act, whether it be a suicide, drug overdose, or something unusual like Caitlin Nelson and Sacred Heart. However, just accidental deaths like Corey's or anything else that's less intense is not going to be accounted for because necessarily no one would want to read about that. So yeah, that's kind of where we ran into some problems, and the fact that between the past 10 years, what is accounted for is only 32 cases is not representative in my mind.
Understood. Well, thanks so much for being with us and for taking the time to do this research. Hopefully we pass this requirement, adding transparency to the movement and making that research a lot less burdensome on you and of course, other families sending their kids off to school. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And Michael, similar to my co-chair, I feel terrible for you losing your friend. So thank you for coming and talking with us. We're going to move back in line very briefly to Ileana Kravitz, and then next will be Jean Morgan, just because we had to pass over, just because we were having some tech difficulties. So Ileana, go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for your patience. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ellie and have lived in Westport, Connecticut for going on 6 years. Thank you for hearing me out today to discuss the important step that our Higher Education Committee is considering to improve campus safety by discussing the reforms called for in SB 954. Publicly reporting college student deaths is important because college student safety needs to be expanded in order to save as many lives as possible. Going far away from home for college should be a wonderful, rewarding experience. Regardless of which mascot you sport, you worked hard to earn it. Remember the unbridled joy that ran through your whole body when you got your dream school acceptance letter? With all the excitement and newness and dorm decor, it can be easy to forget that the unfathomable can and does occur on college campuses. Colleges and universities, on the other hand, are veterans to college life. They see it every day. They live it. So if colleges and universities know that accidents are the leading cause of student death, by far, why aren't they required to report all deaths? And thinking beyond the specifics of what the bill calls for, how reporting all serious incidents, like those needing 911 medical care, even if the student survives. SB 954 requires schools to take accountability, not with the intent to shame, for accidents aren't planned and happen everywhere. I choose the intent from a preventive lens. In addition, the bill is essentially for college students and families of students, especially those traveling far away from home. Educational institutions should make their facts and records accessible on their websites for students to best prepare themselves for a potentially dangerous situation. Schools must honor their students and their health at least as much as they prioritize a safe reputation. Schools should act in a way where students feel free yet held, capable yet protected. This is what Bill SB 954 demands for. And I know my beloved Corey Bernard Hausman would feel the exact same way. His genuine love for life and for others was contagious, the type of guy that made everyone feel included, especially me, the new kid who had moved into the same neighborhood as him. We were attached at the hip, the Romeo and Juliet of Saugatuck Island, without all that foolish family feuding. Corey was and is my best friend. We were elated to go to Boulder together. 300 days of sunshine, a buffalo pool, and Corey. Life is good. I remember falling to the floor when I received a call from my high school friend back in Connecticut telling me that Corey had died. I was in the same place as him, yet heard nothing. It's inarguable that Corey and his loved ones deserve far more insight, communication, and help during this unfathomable time. Universities must report all serious accidents to ensure they and we learn from these incidents and respect our future generations as they prepare to attend whichever school they go to and making it as safe as possible. Don't wait for a painful, preventable, personal accident for safety changes to transpire. I beg of you, let's hold educational institutions accountable for excluding crucial truths from their glossy brochures and flashy websites. Bill SB 954 is a gift and a tool similar to toothpaste. We must use it for results. Without this toothpaste-like tool, we are left with deep holes, cavities. Let's take care of ourselves and those we love. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Senator Haskell has a question.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chair. And Ms. Kravitz, I don't have a question so much as just a comment to say thank you for your patience. We apologize for the fact that there were some technical difficulties. I'm so glad.
I would sit here all day for Corey Hausman. If you knew him, you get it. So no worries, but thank you so much for respecting my time. I really appreciate it.
Of course, we're grateful for your testimony, and I'm so sorry for what you experienced with Corey's loss, but thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And thank you again for your testimony.
Thank you.
Hands, we're going to move on.
Next, we're going to hear from Lauren Lofrisco. Good evening.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Lauren Lofrisco of Westport, Connecticut, and I fully support the reforms called for in SB 954, as publicly reporting accidental college student deaths is an important first step toward how we can improve college safety in order to save college lives. I applaud each of you as our leaders for taking this time today and a long day for this review and many reviews as one step to improve campus safety. My contribution to support this bill comes from the perspective of a parent seeking to understand college safety as one of the more important aspects in selecting a school. I'm a mother of a 20-year-old son attending technical college and an 18-year-old daughter who is a senior at Staples High School. I have spent the last few years learning, at times the hard way, that once a child turns 18 and is living away from home, things are different. I have had to explain the change to my children, as well as educate myself on what information they need to learn and what is needed as adults. My daughter recently asked me a list of questions about how she should prepare herself to be safe when she is living on a college campus. I was not clear on where she could get the information other than to check the college website or possibly the police departments covering that campus to see what they shared about campus safety, accidents, and crime information. These young adults are asked to make a college selection with little to no experience about campus environments other than what is presented on the college website. If they're lucky, they may get to visit a very small portion of the campus, maybe once before signing their letter committing to a school. Illness, accidents, and deaths of their peers or themselves are not common firsthand experiences for most young adults prior to moving on to a college campus. They and their families are literally blind to the realities. College accident and death data is not available to me or my child today. This data is a critical part of the teaching our young adults about the common ways and the environments on campus where they or others may experience serious injury or death. As a mother, if I had information about the types of facilities that are accessible for serious accident treatment, or if I knew about the most common types of accidents or student deaths on the campus, I would be better able to answer the questions I am getting right now to help her make the best college choice. It is concerning to me that no group or college is being asked to collect and share this data. If I had information, I could clearly explain to my daughter or son how to improve their safety or where they will be medically cared for should they experience a tragic event on a college campus. This information is needed to help her choose a college and understand the type of campus that she will be living on. With college
Excuse me,
911.net,
you've hit the 3 minutes.
Thank you. I do have a starting point, and by consistently collecting and analyzing the publicly reported accidental college student death data, we can evaluate who, how, where, and why college student accidental deaths occur. There are benefits to so many from the reforms in SB 954. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Lauren, for your time and for your testimony. Personally speaking, I'm very determined to get this bill across the finish line, and I appreciate sharing your perspective.
Well, that's encouraging. Thanks so much.
I don't see any comments or questions from committee members, but I hope that you and your family stay healthy.
Even though I submitted written testimony on March 2nd, for technical reasons, I didn't get a chance to record my video testimony. Had I testified on video, this is what I would have said. My name is Ira Gorlick. and I'm here to offer my support for Senate Bill 954, an act that would require the publishing of accidental college student deaths. I have a master's in communications management from the Annenberg School of Communication. I recently retired from Verizon after a 35+ year career in communication and information management. I've taught at the graduate level. I've published multiple books, and I've published in academic journals on the topic of communication and information. I heard about this bill from Corey Hausman's family. I learned from them that there is a lack of useful information on college accidents and deaths. My research supports what I believe should be a fairly common sense conclusion. The community always benefits from more transparent, evidence-based information. Nanette showed me a letter from UConn that said that they support SB 954, in part because they believe data reporting facilitates the ability for colleges and universities to cultivate partnerships with others in the community to fill known safety gaps. I think this is brilliant. I agree completely. This is exactly the reason to support this bill. If the information is published, all the stakeholders in the community can use that information to work together to solve our common problems. The information would benefit everyone in the community by giving students and families access to more transparent safety information so they can make better decisions and do more effective planning. By giving colleges more data would help them better ensure their safety initiatives fit the actual need. And by providing more transparent, evidence-based information, public health agencies, EMS services, and other medical emergency providers could use that better information to continually improve their own best practices. The more transparent information colleges provide, the more parents can trust the colleges. This is essentially relevant when the information is around safety. With this information, parents can judge for themselves what they need to do to keep their kids safe. I support Senate Bill 954 because it would add information to the community. And I believe adding transparent information would increase the trust between the college, the adjacent community, the students, and the parents. And that would be a good thing. Thank you.